Who the F did I marry? REESA Tisa series on TikTok. We are on episode 15. Okay, we're going to start at episode 15. I think we played up to episode 15 yesterday. We're going to start at episode 15 and see how far we can get. It's now 5:45 a.m. So I'm just trying to see how many episodes I can get through. Thank you for your love and support. Leave a comment for me. Let me know what you think about this craziness. Thank you for those of you who are saying I should be getting more views. Unfortunately, YouTube algorithm doesn't seem to like me, but it's okay. As long as I'm reaching, I used to say one, but at least 100 people, I'm good. Thank you so much for your love and support. Leave a comment for me. Let's get into it, girl. Let's see what we can get through. And I'm speeding it up a little bit, okay?
Part 15. Who the fuck did I marry? So in December of 2020, around beginning of December, we had a conversation, kind of a come to Jesus, heart to heart conversation. And both of us had grown up in the church. And the fact that we were not married but living together, the fact that almost had a baby together.
So let me just say, I'm repeating episode 15 so we can know where we left off, okay? So we played this at the end of yesterday, but I'm repeating episode 15 so we can, remember where we at. Okay.
Bothered both of us. Both of our families, my family and his family, were very adamant, like, okay, y'all either need to get married or y'all need to separate. And so I'm walking around with a ring on, which I'll post a picture of the ring because there's so much to unpack. But anyway, walking around with a ring. And so he said to me, whatever I need to do my part to make this work, I'm willing to do. At the same time, it wasn't that I did not trust him as much as it was I felt like I wasn't trusting myself. Because again, like I said in the previous video, I know what I saw, I know what I've read, I know what I've heard, but fuck, something was not sitting right with me. And every time I would question it in my head, the other side of me was like, okay, you know he ain't lying about the money, because you saw it. So you know he ain't lying. Girl, are you that, like I remember saying to myself, are you that jaded that you don't even know what it's like to have a decent man? Yes, I really had the audacity to have that thought. So we agreed at the beginning of December, like, we wanted to be together. I believe I loved him. I believed he loved me. So the decision was made that we were going to get married. It's still COVID, so we had to follow certain protocol. So we filed our marriage license in Fayette County, Georgia. You could not get an appointment in Clayton County to save your life. So we filed a marriage license in Fayette County.
Okay.
On the marriage license, it asked the number of previous marriages. He said 1, I had 0. It asked for our social security numbers. He put his social security number down. I put my social security number down. I mentally wrote down his social security number. And I did a background check. I did a background check after I had filed a marriage license. Yes, I know, but I did.
Oh wow!
Background check, nothing came back. It was like no results found. I did a criminal background check, nothing came back. So I thought one of two things: either I had the wrong social, meaning I wrote down the wrong social, or my paranoia was unfounded. There's nothing wrong with him because he has been always throughout the relationship a big stickler about law enforcement. Following the law because his dad was a retired police officer. So this is someone who's been. This is a guy who would check to make sure my tail lights were working, make sure my lights were working, make sure my oil was good, make sure I had enough gas in the car. So when the criminal history came back with no results, I was like, well, of course there isn't, because the man probably hasn't had so much as a speeding ticket.
Right.
So we filed the marriage license, and then we made an appointment to get married, and waiting for the judge to come out of chambers so that she could marry us. The reason why I'm pausing is because, my God, if I could go back and see that young woman sitting in that lobby.
Can't go back, girl.
Wow. I know we can't go back in time. Damn, if I could go back in time, I would. Immediately, I didn't tell anyone I was getting married because I was afraid that we had tried before in September and something came up. So I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to get anyone's hopes up. I didn't want to get my hopes up.
Wow.
But again, said I would be honest even if it's ugly. I told my mom, my family that got married, told my friends, they could not believe it. Like my mother was relieved, but she had no idea about what was going on. My aunt was more like, really? You married him?
Wow.
My friend, the one who took me to the hospital for the miscarriage, was like, I wish you would have told me, like, you deserve to have people there, take pictures and celebrate and all this other stuff. Right. And she was like, she's the type of friend, if you like it, I love it. You rock with him, I rock with him. But you don't, I don't either. So she was supportive. My other girlfriends were happy for me. They just hated that I had to get married during COVID. Because they were like, we would have loved to have, thrown you a bridal shower and a bachelorette party and all of that. It just sucks that you couldn't experience that. So we got married on a Tuesday. On the way home, stopped and got some wings. Went home and I had to get ready to
wings, huh?
And life. Got married January 5th. By January 31st, I knew I was in trouble.
Wow.
I still didn't know how deep. but I knew I was in trouble. So to give you all a very, very, very candid idea, got married January 5th. The normal things that married newlyweds do when we got married, completely stopped.
What?
That was not by me. You always hear men talk about, man, now that we're married, she don't. In my case, it was the exact opposite. It was the exact opposite. So anyway, because this is not a forum to be all R-rated or whatnot, but you know what I'm saying. So we got married January 5th. January 6th, I went to work. It was a lot of people congratulated me because it kind of worked out that I got married. January 7th, I filed the paperwork to change my last name. And if you were following me, you can go back like 15, 16 videos, and I talk about how I had to change my name back to my maiden name. But I changed my name in about 3 days of getting married. My attitude was, this is the bed that I made. I'm going to do right by him. I'm going to do right by my marriage. I took marriage seriously, and when I married him, I absolutely...
No, you didn't take it seriously, baby. You wouldn't have missed the steps and do the foundation.
That was my mindset. I did not get married to turn around and be divorced in 6
months. Yes, you did.
So I got married January 5th, 2021, and by January 31st, I knew I was in serious trouble.
Wow.
So that is where we are. The next set of videos, the next set of all this will be me talking about how things went downhill before it crashed and I found everything out. In the meantime, tomorrow is my birthday.
Happy birthday. Bye. Okay, so this is where we left off yesterday.
This is the interlude, basically.
Okay, so this is where we left off yesterday. So let's pick it up from here. Okay, go ahead, girl.
I'm not recapping on this video. I'm just kind of answering some stuff that has been written to me. Someone was like, why are you airing your business out on social media? It's a valid question. For me personally, I feel like this was traumatic.
You're very traumatic
to live through.
Yes.
And I'll expound on that on another video, the aftermath of the toll that this took.
Right.
Honestly, and I know some people are gonna be like, that sounds crazy. It is kind of cathartic to get this out because I cannot tell you how much of this has been internalized since 2020. Also,
wow.
I don't want to seem like a cautionary tale to other women or to men.
You are a cautionary tale.
But to my sisters, to my ladies.
Yes.
White, Black, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter. If something does not sit right with you.
Yes.
Investigate it.
Investigate it.
I cannot stress that enough. If just one woman watches these videos and
in other words, gather the data. Huh, ladies? Gather the data. You need the data in front of you before you marry this man. It's just like a job, right? And I wrote this in my book, 23 Types of Guys You Might Meet. When you get a job offer, you don't sign the job. You don't accept the job without knowing what the job offers, right? You get the offer, what the job offer, before you accept it. You know how much you're going to get paid. Well, for my husband, because my husband is an executive. So they put for example, let me just use low numbers. Let's say they say you going to get paid $20 to $30. And so you could fall between that. So you already know you're not going to get less than 20. You might not get more than 30. You know what the health benefits are before you sign the paperwork, when they give you an offer, you don't sign it and accept it without knowing what's in the offer. So for the people, the dumb ladies that saying, why are you putting all your business out? She needs to put it out. She needs to put it out because we're trying to save women. We're trying to save another woman for being desperate for a man like REESA Tisa, so another woman does not mess up her life. Because y'all didn't read 23,000 Guys, not my cousins, right? The Naked Wife. The Naked Wife. I'm like, I wrote about these stories in The Naked Wife. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about doing a series on The Naked Wife. Of women who didn't gather the data before. So she's absolutely right. She is a cautionary tale. If something doesn't feel right, please investigate and gather the data. Build that foundation. Do not miss the steps. If she had went and talked to her pastor could have picked up on some. If she had went to marriage counseling, that scripture I read yesterday of Proverbs 11:24, I think, that says, in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. Your husband, ladies, is the second most important decision you will ever make. Your mate, man and woman, is the second most important decision you will ever make and should not be made lightly because it can destroy your life. Your decision for the Lord Jesus Christ is the first most important decision you will ever make. So REESA is a cautionary tale of what not to do. Not to be so desperate for a man that you will just, no matter what, you'll just take the man. You're overlooking all the red flags. There's so many red flags. It's just like the devil, ain't it? It's just like the devil. He keeps dangling this apple, and soon as you put your teeth in it, your eyes are open. So I don't understand the women who are asking her why she's putting her business out. Maybe if more women put your business out, we could say some of these women not to fall in this position of REESA and the naked wife. So yeah, put it out there.
She's like, you know what? Something don't sit right with me. Let me look into this. Then it was worth it.
Right.
Yes, it is a Lifetime movie. Yes, it is Netflix. Yes, it is crazy. Yes, it is hilarious also. And I understand all of those reactions. As someone who lived it, it was traumatic.
It's traumatic.
But
yeah,
I feel like, God, it feels good to finally admit what the fuck I went through. And again, by the time this is uploaded, I'm only to January of 2021, right after getting married.
Wow.
So when I think back on it, there's things that I'm very, very grateful for. There are things that I'm just like, why did you not pay attention? Why did you not question?
Mm-hmm.
And the sad part is, I can't even begin to tell you, I don't remember the woman I was before I met that man.
Wow.
I don't remember. Because going through something like that, it changes you. And I've seen some women in the comments who were like, I was married to a habitual liar. I was married to a pathological liar. My baby daddy's a pathological liar. And my heart goes out to them because until you have dealt with someone so depraved, you really don't quite know how bad it can get. So I'm fully aware that this was a risk, putting this out on social media, telling my story, my truth.
Your story, your truth.
Really kind of being like, look, this is what I went through. Yes. I made dumb decisions. I overlooked things I should not have overlooked.
Right.
I argued away things I should not have argued away.
Mm-hmm.
I can pinpoint exactly the moment I should have left.
Yes.
I still feel like God is sitting on the throne. And
yes.
Like, I never planned for your monkey ass to marry him. I never even planned for you to go out on a date with him. That's why I blew your tire. And then I tried to go ahead and show you signs. You ignored them. Like, I feel like God did everything.
Jesus! Hallelujah. Look at that. Look at that. God is still sitting on the throne. God did not intend for her to marry that man. That's why God allowed. We have to be careful how we say it. God didn't blow her tire out. God allowed her tire to blow out. And I'm so happy that she's admitting I should have left. I overlooked. I was desperate. Because until you get there, ladies, you're not going to grow and you will end up with the same man again. I hope she got my message about the husband profile course. And if she had prayed, she said, I had nobody to talk to. That is not true. You had God the Father. You had the Holy Spirit to talk to. Because Jesus said, I go away to prepare a place for you. He said, I will come back for you. He said, I'm going away so that the Comforter, the Holy Ghost, will come. He will teach you all things of me. He is your guide. He is your teacher. He is your encourager. So she did have the Holy Spirit to talk to. So in the husband profile course, in my one-on-one mentoring, I go through why. Figure that out. You overlooked the red flags because of this. And when you know what your weakness is, you're not going to make that mistake again. Because you know I am weak in this area, so I have to be careful. Come on, REESA, and testify.
Everything to help me as his child. Be like, this is not who I created to be your helpmate.
Right.
And I was like, God, you taking too long. I want to get married.
Woo! Jesus, have mercy. She said, this is not who I create. Helpmate man is not helpmate man. She said, you taking too long. I want to get married. A lot of women make a mess of their lives because we want to go ahead of God. And then the thing is, you're doing everything opposite of God, like living together. We know that's not of God. Even if you fall in the bed and fornicate 1 or 2 times, you know you're not supposed to live with no man before you're married.
Too long. I want to have a family. You taking too long. And these are the consequences that I'm paying for basically telling God, you took too long.
Right. Consequences. We have to pay the consequences of disobeying God. Come on and testify, sis.
And I feel like God's grace is sufficient. It is.
Yes, it is.
But at the same time, and I'm not perfect. I mean,
hallelujah. Yes, His grace is sufficient.
Perfect at all. None of us are. But I do feel like when I sit back and I replay the events that happened, I truly cannot believe that was my story.
Jesus.
Because all I wanted was to meet a guy, for him to be my best friend, for us to get married, have a family. I wanted someone I could make fun of his big old forehead, and he make fun of my nappy head and all my wigs, and yet he was my ride or die. I wanted someone that I could be like, man, help me with these kids, and he helped me with the kids. We had a nice home. We were comfortable. That is what I wanted. And I said this before, and I say it again. I truly hoped it was my turn. You see the women who are, so happy and, they're in these
And ladies, there's nothing wrong with wanting all of those things, right? There is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting what she wanted. That's how God created us. God took us out of man. We are meant to be provided for, protected, loved, adored, everything. There's nothing wrong. But what's wrong is doing it outside of God's will and His timing. I totally understand. She was like, when is it going to be my time? There's nothing wrong with that, REESA. And there's nothing wrong, ladies. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting that. What's wrong is doing it outside of God's will, outside of His grace, and going against His word. There's nothing wrong with wanting what God created us to want. It's innate for us to want marriage and protection and provision and love and all of those things. It is natural for women to want that because that's how God created us. So I don't want you ladies to feel that it's wrong to want that. No, it's not. As a matter of fact, if you don't want it, I think something's wrong with you. Like that old preacher said, if you don't want that, what exactly do you want?
Loving marriages and life just looks good. I really, really wanted it to be my turn.
Yeah.
And so I excused away a lot of stuff that I hope the next woman who sees this does not excuse.
Amen.
Because I don't wish this on anybody.
Yes.
I don't wish this on anyone.
Amen.
To feel the way I felt the moment I discovered the whole truth. So I just wanted to say that because I think it's important to try to answer why is she posting this? Honestly, I was tired of holding it in. I was tired of holding it in. And I hope it helps somebody.
Yes.
Okay. Let's all take a deep breath. Let's all get some sleep.
Okay, girl.
If you don't have anything to do and you just want to wish me happy birthday, wish me happy birthday tomorrow, February 15th. Shout out to Team Aquarius. Good night, y'all. Part 17, who the fuck did I marry?
Part 17.
So for context and just to clarify some stuff, going forward, I'm going to now call my ex-husband, I'm gonna use the name that I call him in real life. So that way it clears up the whole fiance, boyfriend, husband, ex-husband thing.
Right.
So his name is Legion.
Anyone
that knows me will tell you that is what I call him. So Legion and I, when I left off at part 16, part 15, Legion and I got married January 5th of 2021. For the first 2 weeks, things were fine. We got into like a routine, basically. I would go to work, he would go to work. He was still leaving the house at around 6:15 every morning. He was still on the phone with his brother, the one that lived in Philly. Every morning, that was their time to talk. From what I was told, the brother got off work. I guess he must have worked the third shift. And so he was getting off work as Legion was getting ready to go to work. So that was the perfect time for them to talk. He would talk to his brother in Baltimore and the brother in Augusta. Pretty much, just a quick phone call here and there, if not every day, every other day.
Okay.
So everything was pretty much the same. I would talk to my mom almost every day. I would talk to my aunt almost every day. So it was nothing to kind of, that's weird. That's what the morning routine was. He would talk.
Right.
So I worked at Georgia State Patrol. And I said this in a previous video, but again, there were things I said in previous videos that I remember saying, hey, remember that because it's going to come back later. So I worked at Georgia State Patrol. I had been working there for almost 8 years, 7 or 8 years by the time Legion got into the picture. He was fine with the fact that I worked within law enforcement. I'm not a trooper. I'm not a sworn officer. I'm a civilian. However, he, again, his dad was a retired police officer. So he was perfectly fine in the beginning with the fact that I worked for Georgia State Patrol. He had been to my office before. He had met some of my co-workers. Obviously, even with COVID, because I still had to go into the office 2 or 3 days a week, he had been up there. So the friend who took me to the hospital when I had my miscarriage has met him. He and I have been to her home with her and her significant other before. So again, even in the world of COVID, when there were little times where you could get together with people, he has met people in my life. He has met my friend, or that particular friend, and he has met some of my co-workers. So
so he's met all of your people. Have you met any of his people? Let me open up this window, y'all. Let me close this window. It's cold because it was hot down here. Have you met any of his people, REESA Tisa? He met your people. Did you meet anybody, his people? Did you meet who he worked with? Did you go to his job? Did you meet any of his friends? Who did you meet of him?
Married. The first 2 weeks, like I said, was fine. And then it's as if something snapped. Something just changed. What was totally acceptable before, suddenly little comments were made. Why are you wearing that to work? You get off at 3:30, so you'll be home by 5, right?
What?
Things that had never happened before. He had never questioned what time I'm be home. Really, he didn't need to question it because when I'm off work, I leave. So it was never a situation of, oh, I'm just sitting around at work and just run my mouth because I have nothing to do. And then it turned into, he would call me every day from work. And I'm going to demonstrate how those phone calls went. But he would call me every day from work. And if he even so much as heard a male voice in the background, he would have little comments to me. Who was that? Are they in your office? Man, I never know who's around you. Because it seemed like every time I call you, I have a hiccup, sorry. It seems like every time I call you, there's some man around.
What?
And I'm just like, at first I kind of shrugged it off. I laughed it off because it really truly was absurd to me. But then it became a bit more frequent. And so I really just didn't feed into it because I'm like, I don't know if this is some insecurity. I don't know if this is jealousy because nothing has ever been done to make you feel any sort of insecure type of way.
Right.
I never entertained another guy. I never flirted with another guy. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. So it is also important to note, we got married January 5th. Things started changing around 2 weeks later. And the reason why I know it's 2 weeks is because I had recorded an audio diary on January 21st is the date of the audio diary.
Girl.
And I talk about how maybe I had unrealistic expectations because it seemed as if things were changing with he and I. So 2 weeks pass, he starts making little comments. End of January comes, he informs me that he wants to start looking for a house again. I had no real desire to go through that process. So what he decides is that he's going to look for a house for us using his friend, the realtor, the one I did not meet. So he tells me that he and his friend have been talking and he's going to start looking at houses. And what he's going to do is basically, if he feels like it's a house I would like, then he wants to show it to me because he feels like, I know that your attitude really isn't, you're in the mood to look for a house. So I'm gonna start looking. And then if I think it's a great house, then, you can come see it. And I remember thinking, that's not gonna work. You're not gonna choose a house without me.
Right.
No, I'm not gonna choose a house, but I just think that, me and old boy have been talking. And so he has some houses that he is representing. He wants to show me. So why don't you let me look at it? And if it's worth the time, then I'll bring you to look at it. So he already had some sort of plan in place after talking to his friend about how he's going to start looking at houses. This is the end of January 2021.
Okay.
So I kind of threw my hands in the air and was just like, whatever, because I'm not getting emotionally involved in looking at houses. And for me, that's kind of what it was. I felt like I would see a house, I could picture us living there, and then it gets snatched away somehow, some way. I didn't want to go through that. So the reaction that he wanted, which was for me to throw a fit, I did not do. I was just like, okay, all right, like I trust you. And remember that I said the reaction he wanted because that's going to come back later. So he started looking at houses. Funny enough, the houses that he looked at, none of them I actually saw. But he would call me and say, I'm at this house in Sandy Springs with the realtor friend. Apparently his realtor friend's name was Scott, not to be confused with the other Scott, the one that was actually helping us, that dropped us as clients. I want to make that clear. There were two Scotts.
Okay.
One is the
Scott
realtor
number
who was
2
representing us, who said, hey, I need proof of funds. If you don't have those proof of funds, I cannot show you any more houses.
Right.
The other Scott is his friend, who he had talked to on the phone at least 50 to 100 times in front of me. That's the Scott that he said was going to show me this house in Sandy Springs. Okay. Apparently the house was like $800,000. So he was like, I think that if I like the house, then I'm gonna bring you out here so you can see it. All right. Now let's go into part 18. Okay, part 18. Who the fuck did I marry? So he starts looking at houses in Sandy Springs, Alpharetta area with his friend Scott. I did not see any of these houses. I did not go. I didn't want to go. So what was starting to change is, remember I said before, he would leave the house every day at around 6:15. Right. He would be home every day between 3:30 and 4 o'clock without fail. It was so, I shouldn't say it was annoying, but I could set my clock by the fact that I would hear that garage door open between 3:30 and 4 o'clock every day that he went to work. Even during lockdown, he still had to go to work. His job was only locked down for maybe a week. For me, I was allowed to work from home, but unfortunately, I did not handle it well. And so I would fall asleep and not check emails. So my boss was like, yeah, you don't have to come back to the office because you're not trustworthy. And I wasn't. I mean, I would watch Netflix and not even be on my computer. So I had to start going back to work every day, 5 days a week. And me and another lady were the only two in there because we were the only two who did not handle work from home properly. Anyway, that's another story. So Legion he started to not come home by 4 o'clock. He started to come home 5, 5:30, 6, 7 o'clock, because he was saying that he was looking at houses after work with his friend Scott. Okay. So it definitely was noticed that things are changing. And I just, at this point, kind of emotionally and mentally, I was just like, I don't know what to do. This is the end of January. Remember, I told you in part 15, I got married January 5th. By January 31st, I kind of knew I was in trouble. And by the end of January, sure enough, I knew things were changing in a way that I was like, I hate to sound redundant, but what the fuck is going on? Right. So he's still maintaining the story of looking for a house. I had already let him know my lease is up in August. When my lease is up in August, I am moving to Cobb County. And my attitude was kind of like, you can go with me or you can stay here. I don't care, but I'm moving. I'm leaving Clayton County. The reason why I was so adamant to move was not because of Clayton County. It was not because of the house that I was in. It was because Legion had started to create this narrative that he was beefing with my female neighbor. He was trying to get me to believe that my female neighbor to the left of me somehow was interested in him. And so she would make these little comments and he would come in the house complaining about her and her music and the fact that she had, different men over to the house. It was driving me crazy. And all of this was kind of starting in January. So when I say that, it really seems like we got married January 5th, and then we had 2 weeks of peace, and then something just snapped. I literally mean something just snapped. So he's looking at houses. Now we're moving into February. February obviously is my birthday month. He did good. He did good to make Valentine's. He went all out for Valentine's Day. He went all out for my birthday. My birthday and Valentine's Day are February 14th and February 15th. So he went all out on both days. Y'all ain't even gonna believe this story. Girl, I to share even when it makes me look bad. So the weekend after my birthday, and what I mean by that is, if my birthday was on a Tuesday, we're talking about Saturday. The weekend after my birthday, he gave me money to go to the nail salon, go get a manicure and pedicure. So I leave the house. I take his car. His car was in the driveway. We had a key to each other's car because, again, we're married at this point. We're talking February 2021. So I take his car and I drive to the nail salon over in Morrow. I'm in the chair getting a pedicure, and I get a text message from my husband saying, someone was just at the house looking for you. What? And I'm like, who was looking for me? Who was it? Who? And he said, I don't know. I think it was some, this is through text. I don't know. I think it was some dude you used to mess with. What? Okay. I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, I'm telling you, some guy just came to the house looking for you. I told him you were not here. So at this point, y'all, I'm in the chair at the salon. I'm freaking out because I'm like, who the fuck has the audacity to come to my home unannounced, uninvited, talking about they're looking for me? Especially because before I met my husband, I was working the last shift at Amazon as a part-time job. So I had not dealt with, dated anything with anyone for about a year before I met him in March of 2020. So I really was like, who the hell is this coming to my house? So I finished the pedicure. I head home. Once I get home, I'm like, what are you talking about? What happened? And so I'm frazzled in a way. And he's calm. He was like, yeah, it was a black Dodge Charger. They pulled into the driveway. They backed in. They backed in as if they had been here before. So clearly this was someone who's been to your house. He got out the car. He said, I opened the door and I went out there and I said, is there something I can help you with? And he said, the guys that I'm looking for, and gave him my name. And he said, I'm sorry, she's not here. And he was like, oh, okay. All right then. And just got in the car and drove off. Girl, what? And I was like, my brain stopped working because I'm thinking, who the heck could this be? A Dodge Charger? I was like, are you sure that it wasn't law enforcement? Like, was it the sheriff's office trying to serve me with a lawsuit for a credit card I didn't pay? He was like, no, he was in regular clothes. He was like, and it was not a police car. It was not a marked unit, basically. And so I'm just like, who the heck could this
girl? What? Who was that?
be? And he was like, I know who it was. And I said, who?
Who?
He was like, I think it was your ex.
What?
I said, what ex?
What ex?
He was like, the one that you had dated for 2 years. Remember back in like part 4, I told y'all, he told me about his ex. I told him about mine. I thought we were being honest with each other. So now, fast forward to February 2021, and he's telling me, yeah, I think it was the ex that you had been dealing with for those 2 years before you met me. I said, so you think that he showed up to the house uninvited after 2 years?
Right.
And he was like, well, whoever it was clearly was comfortable backing into our driveway, getting out the car, and was like, I'm here to see, and gave him my name.
What?
And so he was like, she's not here. Is there something I can help you with? And the guy was like, no, it's cool. And they just got in a car and drove off. So again, brain is like, who could this be? So then Legion says to me, you know what? The way that you reacting to this is real suspect.
What?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, you over here freaking out. I told you I took care of it. I told you it was fine. And you over here freaking out, which makes me wonder, what have you been up to? Now, girl, let's go to part 19.
Jesus.
Okay, part 18. Who the fuck did I marry? So he says to me, the way you're acting is real suspect because I told you it was fine. I took care of it. He was like, I ain't even worried about it. He was like, obviously, that nigga didn't know that you now married, that you've moved on. And so now he knows it. But for me, it was the fact that I don't do pop-ups. Don't come to my house unannounced. So if someone has done that, for me, it automatically feels like a violation. And it feels like it needs to be addressed. So it was not as simple as, I already took care of it. It's fine. Let it go. No, we ain't letting nothing go because you don't have my permission to show up to my house. And before this turns into something where I'm going to go on Fox 5 News, I need to address that with you because that is not okay. So he didn't like the reaction I had to the story he told me where someone basically disrespected my home. And he felt like my reaction was really suspect. So what I'm going to get into the little details that he did not know about. So he tells me again, it was a black Dodge Charger. They backed into the driveway. A gentleman got out of the car and he asked for me by name. And Legion said, she's not here. So I asked him, what does the guy look like? And he was like, why does it matter? I said, what the fuck does he look like? So Legion proceeds to give me the most generic description you can give. He was like, well, he was shorter than me. Ex-husband is about 6'3", 6'4". He was shorter than me. He was brown skinned. I said, did he have a hat on his head? Mind you, I understand that before marriage, I was a damn fool. Understand that. But every woman has that moment where you only gonna fool her but for so long. Right. And eventually puzzles start coming together. For me, I felt like moving into marriage, certain things started coming together. So I said to him, did he have a hat on his head? He was like, no, he didn't wear a hat. So in my mind, I am mentally going down a list of every possible man it could be. And it was only like 4 men. I had been in that house about 3 or 4 years at this point. So I knew all of the people, and I'm talking about from maintenance down to ex-boyfriends. It was a total of like 4 men. So when he said that it was a black Charger, I immediately was like, okay, I know that crosses out one. He said he was shorter than him. All of them were shorter than him. I said, did he have a hat on his head? He said, no, that crosses out one because one in particular was a maintenance guy who always wore a hat on his head because he had like a bruise or something and he was just self-conscious about it. So he always wore a hat. That leaves 2. So I said, was he muscular or was he skinny? So Legion's getting all frustrated. I said, just answer the question. He was like, well, he was kind of in between. And I said, okay, he was in between. I said, so was he light skinned or was he dark skinned? He was like, I told you he was brown skinned. I said, was he my complexion? He said, no, he was brown skinned. That eliminates one. So now there's one left. And yes, the one left would have been the ex that I had dated for 2 years. And so he was like, I know which ex. And I was like, that don't make no sense because the ex that in my mind, I'm saying this, the ex that I had dated, he and I had no contact with each other. And he was not the type to just pop up at your house. Right. That ain't his style. Not to mention, and I can tell Legion this, that man would not be caught dead driving a Dodge Charger. He hated Chargers because he drove it as a patrol car. So I didn't say anything. I just was like, that's weird. So what Legion didn't know is that at the time I had a security system. So I had a security system where anytime the front door, the garage door, or the back door was open, basically any entry point, anytime it was open or closed, it would send me a text message notification. So when he's telling me all this, I'm looking at my phone and I see a notification where the front door was opened and it was shut all within the same minute. So for example, if it says front door open at 1 p.m., front door closed at 1 p.m. So whatever he did was within those 60 seconds. Right. He's telling me the story of the guy got out the car. He opened the door. He went out there, can I help you? And the guy said, I'm looking for, and Legion said, no, she's not here. And so he said the guy kind of was like, okay. And he was like, all right, thank you. And got in the car and drove off. Legion has also told me that he watched him drive out of the neighborhood, which means because of the way the house was set up, the townhouse, he would have still been outside watching this. I could be wrong, but something in me was like, that would take more than 60 seconds. So for the door to have been open and shut within the same 60 seconds, I was like, Okay. So also what he didn't know, we didn't have a Ring door camera, but my neighbor did. And her Ring door camera caught my driveway.
Okay.
The view of the camera could see my driveway as well as her driveway. And so whoever was coming in the door, our driveways were right next to each other.
Okay.
And then on the other side of it was the grass. So it was a perfect view of my driveway. So she, I texted her and I said, hey, were you home? I think I texted her the next day because I said, were you home on Saturday? And she said, no, I wasn't. What's up? Everything good? And I said, can you look at your security system and see if there was a car that came to my house at such and such time? And I know I did not tell her the reason I was asking. But I was like, is there any way that your security camera caught if someone came to my house at this time on Saturday? She's like, yeah, sure, I'll look. And so maybe about a couple of hours later, she texted me back and said, hey, I looked at the camera, but I didn't see anything. And I said, okay, by any chance, did it catch if someone maybe walked up the driveway? Like maybe it wasn't a car in the driveway, but someone walked up. She said, I didn't see anything with your driveway yesterday. So I said, okay. And I knew that something in me, again, was like, nobody came to the house.
Holy Spirit, girl.
So now here we are, a month and a half married. And now is when I'm like, why the fuck did he make that up? Because no one came to the house.
Right.
No black Charger came to the house, pulled back into the driveway. Nobody got out the car and asked for me.
Right.
Nobody was looking for me.
Right.
So now I was sitting in the bedroom thinking through all this, and I'm like, why the fuck did he make that up? Because that's what happened.
Right.
I'm looking at the text messages on my phone where he's telling me someone just came to the house looking for you, but no one came.
Right.
So what was the purpose of that? And then something in me said, he wanted to see your reaction.
Holy Spirit.
He just wanted to see the reaction. You had been too calm, and so he wanted to see a reaction. So this man gaslit me like I was Georgia Natural Gas just to get a reaction. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to part 20 of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? All right, part 20 of Who the Fuck Did I Marry?
Yes,
so
girl.
After the black Dodge Charger incident, things were quiet. Legion was fine. Legion slept just fine. Me, that shit played over in my head for days and days and days. On one hand, I was like, I know nobody came. My head knew nobody came to the house. Right. My heart was like, but maybe he didn't make it up. So the head and the heart were absolutely playing a tug of war because, again, I really couldn't fathom that he was making it up. But nevertheless, I filed it in the back of my mind, in my little filing cabinet, my mental filing cabinet. So a few weeks later, we go out to eat at this restaurant in Atlanta. It's a burger place, and I'm going to do my best by the time I post this to put the name of the burger place on the screen. So we go to the burger place, eat dinner, everything was fine. As we are leaving, he says to me, did I ever show you where my grandmother's buried? This is the grandmother that passed away from COVID in 2020. And I said, no. I was like, we haven't been over here. And so he was like, let me show you. So he drives us to the cemetery, which is not far from the restaurant. He drives us to the cemetery, goes around and around, and then it comes to like a little hill in the cemetery. And he was like, you see the headstone? The headstone had like the family name on it. And it did not have, for example, John David Doe. It just had Doe. Okay, so there were no dates on it. So it reminded me of just a headstone where it was probably multiple family members buried underneath it. That's what it reminded me of. Okay. And so he was like, my grandfather and my grandmother are buried there. I do recall him telling me when the grandmother died in 2020 that she wanted to be buried next to his grandfather. And so we're sitting in the car because we can see the headstone like on top of the hill from the car. And he tells me that is where his grandmother and grandfather are buried. That the family was able to get her, her wishes were to be buried next to the grandfather. Okay. So as we are leaving, we take a different route home. So we get on the highway. If you're from Atlanta, you'll know what I'm talking about. We get on I-75 North. And we're just driving around, to be honest with you. But we're taking a scenic route. We get on I-75 North because the reason why I remember is because when you're on I-75 North going towards Atlantic Station, on the right-hand side, you will see the Varsity. You'll see all these tall skyscraper buildings. One of the buildings has the letters NCR on the building. As we're coming up towards the building, he says to me, do you see the NCR building? I said, yeah. He said, the building behind it, my job bought that building. That's where we're going to have, we're setting up operations. And I was like, why the hell would y'all buy a condiment company in downtown Atlanta? He was like, no, we're not doing production there. It's just going to be offices. And that's what we're going to handle, like the business portion. The production is still being done in Gwinnett County out in Duluth. And so I was like, oh, okay. He was like, that's where I keep the company car. So I was like, the company car? I said, aren't you supposed to be bringing the company car home? And he was like, I don't want to bring the company car home because it's Clayton County and it's a $90,000 car. And I don't want no problems. So he's telling me that he keeps the company car at the building downtown Atlanta that's behind the NCR building. I barely could see what building he's talking about, but he was like, it's the building right behind it. And so he's telling me that that's where his office is. So I said to him, take me to your office. I know it's a Saturday, but shit, you wanted the VPs, right?
I was about to say, girl, you married this man. You ain't never been to his office. You ain't never met nobody he worked with. Woo, girl. Ugh, child. Oh, child.
So take me to your office. No, I had not been to his office simply because, again, COVID. So I was like, take me to your office. And he was like, I can. He was like, that's no problem. So do I have the other phone? I do. So y'all are in luck. So I can maybe reenact how this goes. So he gets off the exit and starts driving towards the NCR building. while he's driving towards the NCR building, he always has kept his phone in his left pocket. This is my left hand. So he pulls his phone out and he starts calling. He tells me he's calling Willie. Willie is supposed to be the head of security. So he's saying, let me call Willie real quick to make sure that the building's open. So he proceeds. This is another phone, but he proceeds to go ahead and call Willie. We're still driving, by the way. We're still driving. I'm on the phone, scrolling through Facebook, trying to figure out some random shit. But he's driving with the phone up to it. So driving with the phone. Next thing I hear, hey Willie, it's Legion. Hey, how's it going? I'm good. Hey, is the building open? No, I just want to take my wife up there so she can see it and see my office. Are you up there right now? You're not? Okay, is Mr. Justin working? Okay. So is there anybody up there that can physically open the building? Because I don't think my badge is going to get me at least in the front door because it's on the weekend lock. Okay. All right, let me know. All right, thank you, Willie. Bye. He's having this whole conversation while I'm sitting in the passenger seat. So then he gets off the phone and he says to me, Willie is not working and Justin apparently called out sick. So the building is locked and my badge won't get us in the front door. He was like, Willie's going to see if there's someone else that can open the front door so we can actually get in. He's like, my badge will get us on the floor, but it will not get us in the front door. No one ever called. So when he's getting off the highway, he basically turns onto Spring Street. Again, there's all kinds of shit I distinctly remember. He turns onto Spring Street so that he can then get on 75 South so we can go home. Never saw the office that day. But again, this is where he's saying that he keeps the company car. So when we get to part 21, I'll kind of go into detail about the whole company car a little bit more.
Okay.
Part 21, who the fuck did I marry? So the company car apparently was a charcoal gray BMW. I believe it was a 5 Series. It was a 5 Series. I don't know much about the sedans. Y'all know I wanted the X5, dark blue with the cognac interior. He got the BMW 5 Series, charcoal gray. He sent me a picture of the car. So I did see a picture of the car. After this whole NCR building, take me to your office, that is what he's claiming, is that he leaves the company car at that location. He's saying that he drives from Riverdale to Midtown, switches out cars, and then drives from Midtown to Duluth. Those that don't know how Metro Atlanta is, basically Midtown would be in between where we live and Duluth.
Okay.
I only know that he left the house every day at 6:15. I know that I never physically saw the company car come to our home. Saw pictures, plural. So when he told me that he got a BMW 5 Series, keep in mind, this is after I had been promised a dark blue X5. So I was a bit salty. I don't care if it is a company car. I was a bit salty. I will admit that. Because I felt like you get to drive the car that I really want, which is a BMW. And so he would call me from the car. He would tell me, I may just drive home in this car and not switch back to his personal car. He's like, I don't know. He did that a lot. And I realize now in 2024, he did that because he knew how excited I was to actually see the car. And shit, I wanted to test drive it myself, to be honest with you. And he knew that. So reactions. So he would say stuff like that, like, man, I'm so tired. I might just drive the company car, go ahead and go home. And then, just let me park it in the garage type thing. So eventually he stopped doing that because I didn't want to hear nothing about that car. I'm driving a Nissan, you driving a BMW. After you promised me a BMW. So I don't really want to hear nothing about it. So in terms of the company car, I did see that it was according to the pictures, a charcoal gray BMW 5 Series. If you're asking me the exact model, I don't know. But I know it's a 5 Series because I know the 7 Series is slightly longer. So it's a 5 Series sedan. So after the whole situation with the cemetery to see his grandmother and grandfather's headstone, then there was the NCR, the office is open. Oh, it's not open. Justin ain't working. Willie ain't working. Willie's supposed to be head of security, but he ain't working. Okay. So at this point, I'm already numb. It is important for me to point out how numb I became dealing with him. Mind numbing, because I just got to a point where it was like, there's always something. There's always something. So of course we're not going to go to the office because there's going to be something.
Right.
This is the end of February. My birthday had already passed. There clearly was tension on my end, not so much tension on his end. So I get home a couple of weeks later. We are now in the beginning of March. This is something personal about me. The only way you would know this is if you know me. I have been dying to go to London and Paris. I had a layover in London when I did a study abroad, but it's not the same. I want to go to London and be a whole tourist. I don't care. I want to see Buckingham Palace. I want to see the Tower of London. I want to see Paris. I want to see the Versailles. This is something, if you know me, she wants to see Paris. She wants to see London. So I get home from work. This is the beginning of March. I get home from work, and on the counter is a folder with like a little bow on it. And I'm like, oh, what is this? Is this like mail? Like, was this something that you got at work? He's like, no, it's a surprise for you.
Okay.
I open up the folder. Inside the folder is like a trip itinerary. It is not an actual booked trip. It's like an itinerary. A trip for two to go from Atlanta to London. The trip should have happened, and it was the month on there was like July, so it was a summer trip.
Okay.
So he tells me, I'm gonna take you to London.
Okay.
He's like, I wanted to take you for your birthday, but certain things fell through. He was like, so this summer in July, we're going to go to London. He was like, I've already made a reservation for us to stay at the Savoy. Again, there's certain things that my brain just was like, remember that. He said, I've already made a reservation for us to stay at the Savoy. I know, as much as I want to go to London, y'all, I didn't know anything about the Savoy. And so I remember going to look it up because I was like, what is the Savoy? Well, apparently the Savoy is bougie. Daddy bougie. So
bougie.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
I cannot tell y'all how fucking excited I was when I saw that he had printed out British Airways. Like, he was speaking my language. I am one of those people, I'm a planner. So when he's saying, I'm gonna take you to London, and he took the time to research flights and print it out and research the Savoy and print it out. And there were different, not excursions, but there were different things that you could do. You could go see the Tower of London. You could go see Buckingham Palace, changing of the guard. We could go have high tea at certain places. He was like, I don't really want to go. But I know you're dying to go. So he was like, you know I love you and I would do anything for you. Blah, blah, black sheep, have you any wool? And so he was like, I'm going to take you to London in July. The trip did not include Paris. That's fine. But I was so excited.
Yes.
So excited. And so this is the beginning of March. I was like, this is great. Hopefully this happens. I knew I needed to renew my passport. And he was saying that he had to renew his passport as well because his passport had expired. So both of us were like, okay, we need to get on this if we're going to try to make it to London in July, and it's now March.
Right.
Me being a planner I am, I think I went to work the next day and printed out the passport applications so that we could fill it out and go ahead and get that process going. So needless to say, something must have happened and I don't remember what it was. We just simply didn't fill out the application for the passport.
Right.
So fast forward, we're now at mid-March. Mid-March, the decision was made that my mom, who lived in Arkansas, was coming to visit us. She would be coming, I believe, the second week of April, and she was going to stay a week and then a few days. So like maybe a total of 9 days, not quite 2 weeks, but a little over a week. So she was coming in April, and I was excited. Legion was excited because he was excited to physically meet my mom. He had talked to her on Zoom, he had talked to her on the phone, but he was excited to physically meet my mom. And my mom was excited to physically meet her son-in-law. So this is mid-March. I'm going to go into part 22 where I explain what happened with Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Part 22, who the fuck did I marry?
Yes.
So now we're in March. This is right after he had surprised me with the announcement of we're going to go to London for a trip in July.
Right.
So we definitely didn't do a honeymoon. We definitely didn't do any sort of trips together. So the idea was we're going to do a trip in July together. One thing about Legion was that he was the guy who was like, I have nothing to hide. I don't lie. I don't like liars. If we're in a relationship, then everything should be out in the open. So I've always had his cell phone passcode. Never felt the need to look through his cell phone.
Right.
And funny enough, I can tell y'all right now, disclaimer, I will never go through a cell phone again. You cheating piece. So anyway, so one day, this is mid-March, like around March 20th.
Oh my God.
So we're heading towards the end of the month. He was in the shower. Keep in mind, my mom is coming for a visit in April. So he was in the shower and he received a text message on his phone from a woman. The text message, because it was a preview. So the text message was something where if you didn't know the context of the text thread, you could either go left or you could go right with it.
Right.
So me being just curious, I opened up the phone, put the passcode in, read the text, then read the thread. Come to find out, it was a text from his aunt. His aunt and his ex share the same name. That's why I say it could go left or it could go right. Text from the aunt.
God,
so I looked at the text, went through the thread, nothing in there. So I went ahead, X out of the messages. I see that he has Facebook Messenger downloaded. And obviously it shows you the number of unread messages in the icon. So it showed that he had like 5 unread messages. So I clicked on it, just being nosy. And what do my wondering astigmatism eyes see?
Girl, what you saw?
So in his Facebook Messenger is about 7 women. I can see their profile picture and I see their names. Jeez. Some of them had a preview. The ones that he had not read, I could see the preview of the message. One in particular said, when are you going to come get this?
What?
So I clicked on that one first. And I'm reading through the thread. And so she's saying, when are you going to come get this? But earlier in the thread or further back in the thread, he had asked her, when are you going to give me? And she said, when lockdown is over. So from what I could piece together,
girl,
he had not yet physically gotten with her. But had there been no COVID, he would have smashed all day, every day.
He would have smashed.
The other messages were innuendos, meaning other messages from the other women were innuendos. They were not as graphic as the one between him and her. So I'm reading these messages, and what is interesting is that the person I am married to is not the person in these messages. Like, this man was on some nasty shit. And I say nasty, not in a judgmental way, but in a, with me, he seemed to act as if I was damn near virginal white. And I clearly see evidence that she into some shit that with me, you acting like, nah, I ain't really into virginal white. So I confronted him. I absolutely confronted him. And was like, what the fuck is this? If 2 + 2 is 4 and 5 + 5 is 10, what the fuck is this? And so he did not, oh, that ain't what happened, blah, blah, blah. Instead, what he hit me with is, man, I was just playing around. Like, ain't nothing happened. I shouldn't have said all that, but I was just flirting. It didn't mean nothing. I don't even know that girl. I was just flirting. And so I'm like, is this what you into? And so he's like, no, it's not what I'm into. It was just stupid. It was stupid because I shouldn't have done it. So I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because I've been honest all this time. what pissed me off the most was that here I am as a woman behaving, trying to do the right thing by him in this marriage. And you didn't even tell me you out here offering your ding-a-ling to random chicks that you don't even know.
Jesus.
I was more angry at the fact that I'm like, dude, do you know how much I have turned down in order to be faithful to your dumb ass?
Jesus.
And I'm seeing that you basically are out here acting like you got Skittles taste the rainbow.
Wow.
I was angry. I thought about getting my lick back. I'm just being honest, I did. And he played it off like it ain't nothing serious. It ain't nothing serious. Don't overreact. Don't get emotional. It was just dumb. He was like, I will delete the messages. I'll even delete Messenger. And I told him, I was like, that's really not good enough because that's not going to fix the root of the issue. So this is where I introduced that we need to do marriage counseling. He didn't have any issue doing marriage counseling. We did not do premarital counseling.
I was about to say, after you got married, girl, after you married, now you go and do marriage counseling. Backwards. Everything is just backwards. REESA. You doing everything backwards. Okay, girl, go ahead. Tell us more.
He was like, that's fine. He was like, I don't have no problem doing marriage counseling because if anything, it can help us. So I thought that, okay, he may not have physically cheated from what I could see on the messenger. He may not have physically cheated, but he damn sure got caught, doing a little something because they had exchanged pictures. So y'all know what pictures he sent.
Ooh.
And I was disappointed because I don't like men that send those type of pictures. But anyway, that's another issue. So
REESA, Mr. Ding-a-ling is in 23 types of guys you might meet. Mr. Ding-a-ling picture, he in there. Come on, ladies. I'm going to do a series on 23 types of guys because Mr. Ding-a-ling picture is in 23 types of guys, girl. All right, girl. Go ahead, girl.
Marriage counseling. We also agreed that we would put on a united front when my mom got there. In other words, we were not going to argue. Let's just act like everything is fine.
Right.
But at that point, when my mother arrived in April, I could not stand him. I did not want to be, but we couldn't, he moved back into our bedroom because he had moved into the guest bedroom when I saw the messages. Like 3 days before she came, he moved back into the bedroom because obviously she needed to sleep somewhere.
Right.
So I really could not stand him. And it was because I was busy second guessing myself. Like, damn, what's wrong with me? Like, if that's what you into and I'm supposed to be your wife, like, let's have conversations. Like, shit, I went to FAMU. I understand some stuff, buddy. So it just was one of those things where it made me second guess, like, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? What is it that she got that I don't? Because you all out here willy-nilly, messaging her all hours of the night because the thread went back quite a few weeks. Jeez. I saw it in March. There were messages from December, November. What? So again, I'm just second guessing all kinds of stuff, self-esteem taking a hit. So no, I did not want to be around him. I did not want, I didn't like him. Period. I did not like him. I left and I would just go for a drive because driving clears my mind. I called my aunt, told her what happened. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend calling family to tell them what's going on in your marriage. But I called my aunt and my aunt lovingly was like, what do you want me to say? You married him. He ain't your boyfriend. Y'all can't just break up. That's the hard part about marriage. It's like, I mean, yeah, I guess you could leave him, but at the same time, you married him. So, honey, you're going to have to go back home.
Right.
And y'all are going to have to figure this out. She was like, I can't give you advice on what you should do. I'm sorry that this happened, but you married him.
Right.
So, even though it was just one drive, I went back home. And that's when the discussion was, we need to do marriage counseling. Part 23, who the fuck did I marry?
Yes.
So, we agreed to do marriage counseling. I had found a pastor and his wife who agreed to do our counseling. Basically, our counseling was going to be on Zoom and it was going to be every other week, every other Tuesday. Initially, Legion was participating in it. His body language seemed to be that he was open and receptive to marriage counseling. Now, the pastor and his wife were deeply concerned at the fact that we had only been married 3 months and we were already dealing with some form of infidelity. We were in marriage counseling, and as the pastor would put it, there seems to not be any sort of intimacy. They were concerned. Rightfully so. I think any person would be if they knew what was going on within those 3 months. So the pastor and his wife, it is fair to note, we started counseling with them in the spring. We continued counseling with them up until a week before I found out what I found out and he got killed. So one of the first things that the pastor kind of talked to us about was, what was the deal with the Facebook Messenger stuff? And Legion was like, it was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. It really was just attention, and I got carried away. He felt like he was not going to, he kept saying, I'm not going to keep apologizing. I'm not going to keep getting persecuted. After I told you, I'm sorry.
Persecuted.
Again, and I want us to move forward. You're either going to forgive me or you're not. Pastor and his wife were
persecuted. Did he use the word persecuted? Because the Bible says, if you're persecuted for my sake, for Jesus' sake, not because you out here sending dingling pictures. You know what? I have an idea about what I'm going to do with these clips.
Like, wow, the audacity is real on this one. So, needless to say, we started moving slowly forward. It was always in the back of my mind, just like it was in the back of my mind with that black Dodge Charger. It was one of those things where, okay, I see how you kind of are moving and operating. he came to me a few days after we started our first counseling session, and he was like, we should get a joint bank account. What he wanted to do was to each one of us have our own account and to get a joint account for our money to go in there for joint expenses. Now, up until this point, he had been paying the rent, the utilities, and I really was just paying for my stuff. So now he's suggesting, look, we're married now, let's go ahead and get a joint account. I wasn't necessarily against it because I knew that I would still have my own account, I would still have my own savings. So what I countered with was, okay, let's take a look and see what we're working with. Show me your checking, let's look at each other's accounts. Look at what we have currently. He was cool with that. So he shows me his checking account. His checking account available balance was just over $9,600. Mine was just over $1,500. So there was a huge disparity in the amounts. And so he logged in on the phone and turned it towards me, and I could see available checking, available balance, just over $9,600. I logged into my savings. I showed him how much I had in savings. He picked up his phone, logged into his Chase savings, turned the phone towards me. In the Chase savings, it was roughly about $15,000. But I also knew that he told me he had a U.S. bank savings and he had an offshore savings. So at this point in time, I asked him, show me the U.S. bank savings, show me the other two accounts. He would not do it. This became a huge bone of contention. He would not show me the two accounts that he claims has the most money in there, the accounts that he claims has money for a house in there, because he still was mentioning, hey, we need to get on this house thing if we're going to move when the lease is up. So I'm just adamant on, why don't you want to show me your savings account? You showed me the Chase one. Like, what is the big deal? And so he kept saying, he's like, there's a lot of money in there. And he's like, and my uncle always taught me, this is not the uncle that died, another uncle. My uncle always told me, just keep your money tight because women can be, I said, women, like, we're married. So go ahead and show it to me. He would not show it to me. So then we went back into marriage counseling, like the next session, and I bring it up. I said, he will not show me these two accounts that he claims has the money in there to buy a house. I told our pastor and his wife, I said, I saw the pre-approval letter, so I don't understand why he's not going to show me, to just put me at ease that he has the money in there. I had never questioned it before because, again, you tell me who in their right mind signs their name to a legally binding offer, an all-cash offer on a house. And they just do it willy-nilly. I don't know anyone that does that. So I actually never questioned what was in the savings because I clearly saw him sign his name to a $699,000 all-cash offer on a house. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go back to the parts in this playlist where I talk about what he did when we were looking for a house. So the pastor and his wife were like, Legion, that's not his name, y'all, that's a nickname. Legion, why would you not show your wife your savings account? Like, what's going on here? And so he made up some bullshit. And I remember the pastor's wife was like, something ain't right. And so at this point, Legion kind of shuts down. He's just like, look, y'all are not going to tell me when and where I open up my accounts to show anybody the money I earn. I earn that money. I earn that money by playing football, blood, sweat, and tears. He went to this whole Denzel Washington monologue about how he earned that money, and no one is going to come in and tell him that he needs to open up the account. So then he starts talking about the ex-wife and how she tried to get money from him in the divorce back when they were in California. What? So now the pastor and his wife, their red flags are just like, whoa. So much so that the pastor's wife said, and I will never forget this, she said, I don't think you all are going to make it to January. What she was talking about is, I don't think y'all are going to make it a year.
See there? Look at that. Look at that, REESA. But if you had went to premarital counseling before, she could have told you that. She could have told you that. Because when me and my husband signed up for premarital counseling, right? We got engaged to pastor to book the appointment at my church, not my husband's church. We finally decided to go to my husband's church. We had kind of talked about going to my church, but my husband is Baptist and my church was Spirit-filled. And he had no idea what was going on in my church when he came to my church. But I saw how he reacted when he was at his church to his pastor, so on and so forth. So we decided we're going to go to his church, okay? And so, but at my church, my pastor said, your appointment is this day and come and bring the financial records. He said, my job is to make sure you do not get married. That's what my pastor said. He said, my job is to make sure you do not get married. So when you come bring the financial records, bring everything. So the first lady was right. This is why you go to premarital counseling. Because in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. They could have seen it. Come on, preacher. Come on, first lady.
And I really, truly was like, we're going to make it. Like, of course we're going to make it. And she was just like, I don't have a good feeling about it. And so Legion's all defensive. He at this point, he's folding his arms and because remember, we're on Zoom. He's folding his arms and he's just like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not going to get attacked because I'm not comfortable showing you the amount of money that I have. Money changes people. And I'm not comfortable. So he's playing that victim card. And so the pastor and his wife were like, we're still gonna help y'all as much as we can. But so he's like, I'm not comfortable. And basically the pastor and his wife were like, look, we'll help y'all as much as we can, but there's some deep issues here. And, this is what they advised us. Had the two of you came to us for premarital counseling, we would have told you, do not get married. Y'all should not even be together. That is what the pastor.
Had you came to us for premarital counseling, we would have told you, do not get married because, get the Bible. Proverbs 11. Proverbs 10 and 19. Let's read it together. In the multitude, I keep going to that one, something's up with that. Come on, somebody. Proverbs 11:14. Where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. This is why you go to premarital counseling. So the pastor and the first lady, and I think ladies, you go to a certified marriage counselor. That means they went to school. They have a degree. And you go to your pastor. They can weed through all that stuff and say, baby, don't get married. Do not get married. Let me highlight the scripture again, because this is a new Bible. Every so often I get a new Bible to read again. Okay, come on, girl. Preach.
Pastor and his wife told us in marriage counseling, if you two had come to us for premarital counseling, we would have told you, y'all should not even be together, let alone get married. But here we are. So we will help you guys as much as we can. But the pastor's wife was like, I don't have a good feeling that y'all are going to make it a year. Part 24, who the fuck did I marry? So remember, we're in April. We're now moving towards the end of April. And he still did not show me his savings account. Saw the checking, saw the Chase savings. So he decides that we should start looking for a house again, because my lease was up in August. And I made it very clear that when the lease is up, I am moving. I wanted to move to Cobb County. So he was like, we need to get the ball rolling. I didn't want any parts of it. He found a realtor. This time it was a woman. And I believe her name was Amber. I think her name was Amber. So he found a realtor and we told her what the budget was. Amber started finding houses. So please understand, or you don't really have to understand, but I believed he was a sane, rational human being. Sane enough that you would not sign an offer on a home if you didn't have the money. That's what I believed. So when we started working with Amber, I believe showed us 3 or 4 houses. It was not nearly as many as the other realtors got. So one of the houses, absolutely loved. I love the house. I really wanted to put in an offer on that house, and I'm going to post it on the screen. The house, love that house. It was just absolutely beautiful. And once again, he wanted to put in an all cash offer on the house. But before he could put in he had told Amber, I want to put in an all cash offer. And what Amber, the woman, was smart enough to say is, okay, let's just go ahead and take it one step at a time. Let's go ahead and get your pre-approval stuff together. She said, I work with a great lender who, if you're not already pre-approved, he can get you pre-approved, no issues. And then if you want to do an all cash offer, then we'll go ahead and get the proof of funds together. So that way we can submit it all with your offer.
Right.
Jesus. Y'all already know what happened, because you remember what happened on the last house with Scott. Basically, Legion was like, well, I can get you whatever you need. That's fine. But I really don't want to submit proof of funds unless they accept the offer. Amber, and I don't know where she is. I don't even know if she'll ever see this video.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, let me keep going and I'll explain why that woman has a special place in my heart. So Amber was like, I totally understand. But this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to need that paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we'll submit it with your offer. Right. She just simply was like, yeah, this is how we're going to do it. And so he did not submit the paperwork when she had asked him to. And I remember I was driving to work and I stopped at a Quick Trip on Upper Riverdale Road in Riverdale, Georgia. And Amber had called me. It was in the morning. She had called me. And I believe with all my heart that Amber knew something was up, but she also knew I did not know what was up. So she called me and she was like, I just don't understand. Like, if he has the paperwork, like, you can submit the paperwork. But the issue was the Chase paperwork that I had was from a year prior. So my understanding was that it pretty much was no good at this point.
Right.
So she said, all he has to do is just email it to me or take a picture of. She's like, I just need to know that he's able to back up his offer. And I said, I totally get it. And she was explaining some stuff to me. She was like, he needs to do X, Y, and Z. And so I said to her, I remember I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, I'm going to get down to the bottom of it, but I don't know what's going on. And so let's put a pause on this whole thing. Let's put a pause on looking at houses. Let's put a pause on getting his pre-approval letter, because I'm not sure what's going on. And she got quiet.
Right.
And she said, okay. I said, and I know this sounds weird. And she said, no. She said, that is actually very smart. She said, do your research. Woo! And if I can be of assistance, call me. She said, whether you buy a house with him or you buy a house on your own, I will be more than happy to represent you.
Do your research.
I don't know where Amber is today, but that one sentence, I felt like just woman to woman, she was basically telling me
something's up.
Something ain't right.
Right.
Baby, something ain't right. And now you need to open your eyes. I'll be more than happy to work with you. If y'all get your shit together, I'll work with both of you. But whether you buy a house or not, do your research.
Right.
And then let me know what I can do. That was our conversation at the quick trip on Upper Riverdale Road. So I got off the phone. That was the last time that we worked with any sort of realtor. That was the last time that we looked at any sort of house. And I don't remember exactly what happened after that meeting that day. I do know that when I went home, I simply told him, I don't want to look at a house right now. I said, I think it's okay if we rent. We'll just find a house in Cobb County and just rent for a year. Right. And let's build, save some more money. Let's just, let's not worry about buying a house right now. Right. And basically what I was trying to do was save face, because that was the first time with Amber that I actually was embarrassed at the fact that he and I, because I felt like I was complicit in the fact that I'm going to look at houses with him. I felt like we are wasting these people's time. Right. I did not mean to waste your time. I clearly see my time as being wasted, but that doesn't mean I need to waste your time. And I felt embarrassed at the fact that we wasted her time coming across as serious buyers. When time came to put up or shut up, nothing was put up. Right. And I knew nothing. I had nothing to add to add to this, because we're talking about a $650,000 house, and I don't make that. I don't make anywhere near that. So it just became one of those situations where I was trying to save face. I was trying to save face with my husband, and I was trying to save face with Amber. And so I did say to him, let's just rent for another year. Right. And then let's see at that time where we are, if we should go ahead and buy. So now is when shit is about to get real. Part 25, who the fuck did I marry? So we weren't looking at houses anymore. We were not working with a realtor anymore. The end of April, I had decided that I wanted to look for another job. I did. The reason I wanted to look for another job is petty. Yeah, it is. I wanted to look for another job because I was pissed off at the fact that I had basically was dependent on him to help with the car note. So I wanted to look for another job where I could afford life all by myself, including that car note, basically where I would make more money. I told him that I was going to start looking for another job. Right. He laughed. And his exact words were, you're not going to leave Georgia State Patrol. He was like, I swear you love them niggas more than you love me. He laughed. What? So that fueled me even more. So I was hitting the pavement hard trying to find another job. I was applying to all kinds of places. Got a phone call from my current job. So this is how I ended up in my current job. Got a phone call, they had sent me an email with a background packet. The background packet was long and extensive, but in the background packet, it asked for my spouse's full name, my spouse's date of birth, and my spouse's social security number. Jesus! So I showed it to Legion, and I was like, I need your social, because, I'm applying for this job. It's a great job. It's way more money. And, we're talking about moving anyway to Cobb County. So this is a God thing. Yes. He did not want to give me his social. What? I showed him the paperwork where I was like, look, because we are married, I can't lie on here. Right. So help me. So he writes down his social security number on the background packet. And I eventually turned it in. I scanned it, saved it in my email, and sent it in. And I looked at it one day, just going through it, just making sure I didn't really miss anything. All T's were crossed, all I's were dotted. And I looked at his social. Right. And something about the social seemed different than the social security number that I remember seeing when we did our marriage license. Oh, Jesus. And so for those who you remember in the previous part, I said I had ran his social security number from the marriage license. And nothing came back. So I thought that I had written it down wrong. Right. Basically, what it is that the first three numbers were different on the background packet than what was on the marriage license. If you don't know this, here's a little trivia. Your social security number, the first three numbers, pretty much are dictated by the state you were born in and the state that issued your birth certificate. So he was born in Pennsylvania. So the first three numbers of his social security number should be attributed to Pennsylvania. Right. Pennsylvania, shit, they probably got like 5-6 different numbers, 3-digit numbers that your social security number can start with. Right. So the social that was on the marriage license, for example, was probably 1, 2, 3. What was on the background was 456.
What?
Both of those Social Security 3-digit prefixes are issued through the state of Pennsylvania. Again, this is just an example, so I can make it clear.
Right.
So when I saw his social on my background, I immediately knew that was a different social than what I saw in the marriage license. And when I compared, because I had found a copy of the marriage license that we turned in because I had filled it out on the computer.
Right.
So sure enough, the first 3 numbers were different. The rest of the numbers were the same. So one of two things: either when I ran his background, I did in fact put in the wrong number, or the number on the marriage certificate or the background packet is wrong.
Right.
So I decided that I was going to roll the dice and take the social from the background packet. Again, this is the background packet that I had to fill out to get my current job. I was trying to get a new job. Okay, so I took that social and I ran a background check on it. What came back on this particular background was all the addresses that the Social Security number, I guess, had been attached to. So all of the addresses, the states were Georgia, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania. What I did not see was California.
Right.
So I thought that was weird. I thought, okay, maybe this is not a complete background, because clearly he went to San Diego State. It's on his resume. It's on quite a few things. Social media. He didn't have a LinkedIn, but it was on his social media. So clearly he had been to California. So maybe I just need to do a different background check. Also to note, during this time, I think I told you guys he had hit his leg at work. So what was happening was it was getting more and more difficult for him to walk, like put pressure on that knee. He was still able to go to work. He was still leaving at 6:15 in the morning. He was still coming back between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. But I clearly could see where he was in pain. He would elevate the knee, ice the knee. It was getting worse. And I was constantly like, go to the doctor. Let me take you to urgent care so that they can look at this knee, because you shouldn't still be limping and having a hard time putting weight on that knee. And every single time he was like, oh, it's fine. I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday. The doctor just told me to ice it and to elevate it. This is an old football injury. It happens all the time. It used to happen a lot when I was out in California. So I'm mentioning this knee issue for a reason. But back to the background. So once again, when I ran the background the second time with the second social, it showed me states of Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. And that's all that I saw in terms of addresses. Didn't see anything for California.
Right.
So by this point, we're moving into May of 2021. Things are starting to reopen. One of the things that reopened was San Diego State. So I called San Diego State.
Right.
I called the registrar's office. Someone did answer, and there was instructions on how to request a transcript. I was able to try to request it online. You needed the student's name, and I believe you also need their social. And when I typed it in, it said no results found. I believe that I sent an email asking, this person is saying that they were a student there. Can you verify it?
Yes.
The response I got was there were no records found with that Social Security number. So I'm like, okay. I asked him about it. And in part 26, I'll tell you exactly what his response was.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes,
girl. Yes, part 26.
So I asked Legion, what's the deal about San Diego State?
Right.
What are you talking about? And I said, why is there no records of you there? Without missing a beat, this man said, well, I was a private citizen. What the fuck does that mean?
What?
And what he said is that when he started at San Diego State, his father paid money so that, okay, it's important to say this with a straight face. His father paid money so that his name and social would not be publicized, and he would be considered a private citizen. He said that he had a card where all he had to do was show the card. He does not have to give his name. He does not have to give any information because he had that card. He said so San Diego State would not have any record of him.
Girl, what?
I said, and he claimed that you played football. He's like, I did play football. I said, so you're saying that the school did not publish your name anywhere and they were in violation of NCAA rules?
Right.
And he was like, why are you asking all these questions? And I said, I'm just curious. I'm just curious. You're saying that you were a private citizen, but yet how were you in compliance with NCAA?
Right.
You were a private citizen. And they did not publish your name on any roster. So that was his excuse. He was like, all I can tell you is that I was a private citizen. My dad paid for it.
Girl.
Okay. So now I know that San Diego State has no record of him. Now I know that his Social Security number, at least the one that's on my background packet, only shows that he lived in Georgia, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania. Okay. So at this point, the pain in his knee is getting worse. It's getting to the point where when he would come home from work, he would take a shower and immediately get in bed, elevate his knee. He was not even eating the way that he used to eat. It was getting to the point where at times, if you remember when I told you all about the miscarriage, they gave me pain meds because I had taken that pill. But the pain meds I was allergic to, so I couldn't take them. But I still had them. So the pain in his knee was getting to the point where he would take one of those pain meds just to get through the night. He was constantly in agony, constantly kind of tossing and turning, so much so that in May he moved into the guest bedroom because I couldn't deal with the tossing and turning thing. And he just said he was more comfortable there. So what at first was I hit my knee at work, turned into, no, it was an old football injury. This has happened before. Turned into, it's painful for me to walk on it. Turned into, it's actually hard for me to work. But he was still going to work at 6:15 every morning and coming home.
It's hard for me to work.
So it is, again, I'm just giving you guys the chronological order of how all this happened.
Right.
So at this point, we're not looking for a house. I still have not seen the 2 savings account. I'm pretty sure there's no money in those savings accounts.
Right.
But again, he was going to put in an all cash offer with Amber, the realtor. So I really didn't know what to believe, but I believed what I saw, which is I saw that background is not showing where he went to California.
Right.
So at one point in May, it was close to midnight, he calls me from work. He calls me from work, calls me while I'm at work, and tells me that he got a phone call from his stepson. The phone call from his stepson, the stepson was crying and was just absolutely distraught. And I'm at work in my office like, what's going on? And he says to me that the stepson informed him that his stepdaughter passed away. That she died from COVID.
Oh my
God. This is the story. The stepson found her in her apartment because they had not heard from her for a couple of days. And she was unresponsive. He called the ambulance. They pronounced her dead when she got to the hospital. So he was calling to tell me that she had died.
Jesus.
And he was also calling to ask me if I would object to him giving his ex-wife $2,000 towards the funeral. As I've stated before, and I still am this way to this day. I don't play about death. So when he told me that she died, I immediately went into all right, I'm sorry to hear that. Whatever we can do to help.
Yes.
Because surely nobody would make that up. So he was like, are you okay with that? He's like, we're married. And the agreement was that anything over $500 would be a discussion. So $2,000, definitely. And I said, yeah, that's totally fine. I'm fine with that. He was upset because, again, he was close with the kids. And my heart went out to his ex-wife. It did, because I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. So part 27, who the fuck did I marry?
Part 27.
So here's where we are at. Here's what we can establish. Number 1, I ran an initial background check on the social security number that was on our marriage license.
Right.
Nothing came back.
Right.
I subsequently applied for another job. In that job, I had to fill out a background packet. The background packet asked for my spouse's name, date of birth, and his social security number. The social security number on the background packet for the new job did not match the social security number that he gave me for our marriage license. If you are confused, I believe it's in part 25 or part 26 that I explain that.
Right.
So we can establish that I then ran a background check on the new social security number that was on my background packet. It came back with states that the social security number apparently had lived in. Those states were Georgia, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. Okay. I decided, this is now around May 20th.
Girl, hold on. I gotta get me something to eat, girl. I'm hungry and tired. Hold on, girl. Let me go get my soup. Hold on. Just warm it up. Let me listen to what you got to say in the meantime.
I decided to do another background check.
Right.
And I paid to do another background check. This time, I did it with a different company. And not only did it give me the addresses, not only did it give me the states, it gave me addresses, and it also gave me names of people who were like associated with Legion and that address.
Right.
One of those names was his ex-wife. I've always known, he's always told me the name of the ex-wife. But now I see it when I ran his background. I did a search for her on social media. She was not there. So the address that it showed that she was associated with him, because remember, his story is we got married in San Diego, we lived in San Diego, we divorced in San Diego. Men lie, women lie. The U.S. federal government with your social security number does not.
Right.
So he's saying he was always in California. His social security number never showed that he was in California, according to the background check. It did show that he had lived in Georgia at an address associated with the ex-wife.
Jesus.
So tried to find the ex-wife, could not find her on social media. So I looked in the metro counties to protect her identity. This, I am going to not divulge a lot on this part. I looked in the metro counties in the open record courts. So typically, you can look in like Superior Court or Magistrate Court or Probate Court. So I looked in open records for the different counties, Metro Atlanta counties, let me be clear, Metro Atlanta counties. And I looked under her name and I found where they had filed for divorce in a Metro Atlanta county. So when he said that he filed for divorce in San Diego and that he was married in San Diego.
Now, REESA, look at all that she did after she got married. Can you imagine if she did all of that before she got married? Before. Oh, child, this is juicy.
I was able to find, no, according to the state of Georgia, you were married here.
Yeah.
Divorced here.
Here.
So I looked under her name, found a record for divorce, and it did show his name. So now I clearly see on my computer that there is a Metro Atlanta County Court that has a divorce record in the state of Georgia between him and his ex-wife.
Right.
So I did what any rational person would do. Because this is still kind of COVID time. Well, not really. It had nothing to do with COVID. Let me take that back. Because of the parameters of the court, you can only do the open records request in person. I did what anybody would do. I told my boss I had to go. I grabbed my purse, grabbed my keys, and I drove to the court to do the open records request in person.
Yes.
The open records request was for the divorce documents.
Right.
Go back in the story, in the series, and remember I did a background on the ex-wife. I told you all exactly what was told to me. He met her in California. He married her in California. He divorced her in California because she cheated on him. He filed for divorce. She tried to get spousal support. It was going to be a little ugly. He was helping her with the kids. Right. That was the story that was told to me. So went to the court, filled out the paperwork, got the open records request for the divorce decree, for the divorce records. First thing I see, he didn't file, she did. Ooh. Second thing I see, they didn't make it more than 6 months.
What?
The date of marriage. I see the date of dissolution. 6 months.
Hold on. Oh, hey, girl, I'm back. Woo. It's dangerous listening to this and eating, but girl, I'm starving. I got to eat something. Okay, let's go.
Person would do, because this is still kind of COVID time. Well, not really. It had nothing to do with COVID. Let me take that back. Because of the parameters of the court, you can only do the open records request in person. I did what anybody would do. I told my boss I had to go. I grabbed my purse, grabbed my keys, and I drove to the court to do the open records request in person.
Right.
The open records request was for the divorce documents. Go back in the story, in the series, and remember I did a background on the ex-wife. I told you all exactly what was told to me. He met her in California. He married her in California. He divorced her in California because she cheated on him. He filed for divorce. She tried to get spousal support. It was going to be a little ugly. He was helping her with the kids. That was the story that was told to me. So went to the court, filled out the paperwork, got the open records request for the divorce decree, for the divorce records.
Jesus.
First thing I see, he didn't file, she did.
Jesus.
Second thing I see, they didn't make it more than 6 months. I see the date of marriage. I see the date of dissolution. Third thing I see, he was served in Metro Atlanta, which means that at the time of the divorce, he was living in Metro Atlanta. California was never mentioned.
Girl.
Fourth thing I see, he filed what is called a pauper affidavit. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to do my best to explain it real quick. Basically, he filed an affidavit with the court saying that he is so poor, he could not afford the fees to pay for a divorce. He couldn't afford a filing fee.
He was so poor. He was poor. He was poor. Girl, you cannot eat and watch this. This is dangerous, okay?
Couldn't afford a service fee. That is what a pauper affidavit is for. All of this is in the divorce documents. She had filed. She said it was irreconcilable differences. She was not requesting any money whatsoever. And both of them had signed a pauper affidavit. He was served in Georgia at his previous employment. According to the divorce documents, he was served at like a grocery store. That is what was
a grocery store.
And it had a date of when he was served.
Did I tell you he was a sales rep? Nothing wrong with sales reps, y'all. My husband is in sales. Girl.
So I see all of this in one day. I also see where on the divorce documents, she listed her name, her address, and her phone number.
What phone number?
So I did what any rational person would do. I wrote down the phone number.
Right.
There was a 50-50 chance that the number was already disconnected.
Right.
She could be like me. I'm one of those people. Honey, you can sneeze at a 27-degree angle. I will change my number so quick. You can talk to me at 5 o'clock and at 5:05, my number's been changed. So she could have been like me, and the number is not even active. Or she could be like some people I know who have kept their number since kindergarten.
Right. Me.
Either way, I wrote the number down. I left the court, and I immediately went back to work. And the same friend who helped me when I had my miscarriage, I told her, I was like, I got this phone number. This is the ex-wife. She was like, girl, you better call. You better call and find out from her. Because I think she said to me, can't nobody tell you what is going on quite like the ex-wife.
Right.
So, part 28.
Yes, girl.
Is the phone call that I had with the ex-wife.
Yes, girl.
Part 28. Yes. Who the fuck did I marry?
Part 28.
So, I got the phone number, went back to work. My really good friend was like, you better call her. You can use my phone, but call her. So I called her. She answered. Let me use aliases. And the conversation went like this. May I please speak with Barbara? This is Barbara. Barbara, this is Shirley. Shirley who? This is Shirley Jones. I am the wife of Legion. Silence. Then she starts laughing. And she said to me, and I quote, if you are calling me, then I know it's bad. I chuckled. And I said to her, I'm not trying to bother you. I'm not trying to disrupt your life.
Jesus.
I said, I'm literally coming to you on some woman-to-woman shit.
Right.
I said, because you are probably the only person who can help. She listened. She was gracious. And she said, what is it that you need to know? Or what is it that you want to know? And I said, I understand that you and my husband talk and communicate. And she immediately said, what? No, we don't. And I said, okay. She said, one thing you need to know about Legion. She said, whatever he tells you, it is a lie.
Jesus.
And she said, again, let's go back to part 1. I told you guys that when he introduced himself, or when we met, we actually had matched on 2 different sites. And he was under 2 different names. One was like the actual birth name. The other one was a nickname variation of that name. That's the name I know him by. So for example, if his name was Matthew, he had a profile under Matthew, and then he had a profile under Matt. I would have known him as Matt. So she said to me, she was like, I don't even know who Matt is. She was like, that's not even his name. What? And so I knew what his actual government name is. She was like, no one calls him Matt. She was like, that must be his new personality. Or she was cracking a joke, but she was like, anything he tells you, you need to know is a lie. So I just asked her, I said, what was your experience? I said, because I can tell you the story he told me. And she stopped me right there. She said, whatever he told you was a lie. She said, let me guess. He told you I cheated on him. Let me guess. He told you that I wanted money from him. And I said, yeah. And she said, yeah, that's a complete lie. So we had a conversation where she told me how they met. They didn't meet online or anything. I said, well, were you guys ever in California? She said, no. She was like, that man ain't never been past the East Coast. So you guys have always been in Georgia? And she said, yeah. She's like, we got married in Georgia and we got divorced in Georgia. And that's when she asked me, how did you even get my number? She said, because I want nothing to do with him. So how did you get my number? I said, I'm gonna tell you the truth. It ain't gonna make me look good. I told her, I said, this is what happened. And this is what led to me doing research. And this is how I got your number. And she laughed. She was like, wow. She was like, normally I would be freaked out. She said, but under the circumstances, she was like, wow, okay. She said, yeah, if you're calling me, then it must have gotten pretty bad. Yeah. She said, so what did he promise you? Right. And we talked for about.
What did he promise you? 23 types of guys you might meet. It's all in here. Because I talked about how men use things and promises and monies and cars and stuff to snag you and draw you in. Come on, what did he promise you? Go ahead, Legion's wife number 1.
35 minutes. She asked me in that phone call, she said, look, I want nothing to do with him. I have not spoken to him since our divorce was finalized. She said, so I would just appreciate if you keep me out of whatever's going on with y'all. Right. And I told her, I said, I give you my word, I will never tell him I spoke to you. Right. I said, I give you my word. I said, this conversation is for me. It is not for me to use in any sort of legal litigation, nothing. This is for me. And I said, I don't plan to call you again. I don't plan to be a disruption in your life. I just needed to know, how bad is it? And she paused and she said, it's bad. It's bad. She said, I don't know what all y'all got going on. She said, if it's anything like what it was for me, it's bad. So we talked a little bit more. She was very encouraging. She was like, girl, do not blame yourself. She said, I went through that and I had blamed myself. She was like, this is not on us. This is on him. She was like, he is a master liar, a master manipulator. She said, I ignored the red flags. So she was like, do not.
I don't know if that's true. It's not on you. It is on you. It is on us, ladies. Nobody's going to protect us. We have to protect ourselves. So it is on us to make sure the man we're signing our life over is actually a good man, as the Bible teaches. So ladies, stop this. It's not on us. It is on us. It is. You chose a pathological master liar. So the problem is, why? The question is, why?
Feel as though this is on you. We talked about there's an ex-girlfriend that shares the same name as his aunt. She and I talked about her. She said the reason why they broke up, because the ex-girlfriend, I didn't know this, the ex-girlfriend had reached out to her about 6 months before he met me. And so the ex-girlfriend lived in Douglasville. On Legion's driver's license, he had a Georgia driver's license with a Douglasville address. What he told me was that it was the address that his sister, because remember I told y'all his sister Shantae lives in Douglasville. She's a nurse, married with 2 kids. So he told me that the address on his license, it was his driver's license, was to Shantae's house. Right. The ex-wife is telling me, no, that's the address for the ex-girlfriend. Jesus. He had moved in with her, and he created this whole narrative with her.
Stop letting men move in with you. Stop letting men move in with you. Stop letting men move in with you. You must go buy me a brand new house. Hello, ladies. Don't let the nigga move in with you. Okay?
She found out that he was lying, and she kicked him out. And so I guess after she kicked him out, she then reached out to the ex-wife, kind of the way I did for confirmation. And so the ex-wife was just telling me, whatever that man has told you, it is a lie. She said, I got out before it got too bad. She said, because once I knew he was lying, I was out. She was like, because he's never going to change. And so, again, conversation went on. And so finally, we were getting ready to get off the phone. And before we got off the phone, I said to her, I said, if everything is a lie, I said, I have one question for you. Yeah. And she said, sure. I said, how is your daughter?
How is your daughter? Jesus.
I said, how is your daughter?
She don't have a daughter.
Next part coming up. Part 29, who the fuck did I marry? So I asked her,
how's your daughter?
She said, my daughter's fine.
Oh, the daughter's
fine. Okay. She said, what did he say about my daughter?
She died.
And I will be honest with y'all, I didn't have the heart to tell her. So what I said instead was, oh, no, it was, with everything with COVID, I think you mentioned that she might have had COVID or was exposed to it. I downplayed it bad. I wasn't going to tell that woman that he said her daughter passed away. So I said, obviously I'm glad to hear that.
And another thing, y'all crazy woman, move these niggas around in your house around your kids. Moving these strange men in your house around your kids. I don't even know how y'all do it. I don't know how y'all trust strange men around your children. I am so paranoid with people around my kids. Like, no, can't nobody come over here. Nobody's spending the night. You ain't spending the night at nobody's house. No, you can't go over there. When I tell Big Mike, watch Lil Michael, Lil Michael is the president, and you're the people that guard the president. Watch him every step. Lil Michael should not be in any room. You must always have your eyes on him. He can't go to the bathroom by himself. Don't let nobody take him to the bathroom. You got to keep your eyes on him. Watch him. I don't know how y'all mamas trust these niggas around y'all kids. I don't know how y'all do it. There is not that much desperation and ghetto dingling in this whole wide world just to be trusting various niggas around my kids. I don't know how y'all do it. I just don't know. It's crazy to me. But anyways, girl.
Whether you stay with him or not, it's your choice. She said, he ain't gonna change. He ain't gonna change at all. She said, this is what he does. She said, you're not the first. You're not going to be the last. She said he did it to me. She was very, very encouraging because she was just like, you do not blame yourself. She said, we both ignored red flags, but it is not your fault. She said, this is on him. And so we, once again, I thanked her for her time, got off the phone. I took the long way home that night. I could not be around him. I could not be around him. I had to figure something out. I had to figure some things out. So I took the long way home. What does that mean? It means that I probably could have taken 75 to 285, but I probably took 20 to 75 to 285 to 675, kind of like I just took the long way home. A couple of days later, because my mind was spinning. A couple of days later, at this point, I'm turning into the FBI, CIA, and Homeland Security all in.
But before you marry him, ladies, you need to be the CIA, FIB, FBI, and Homeland Security. Before you marry him. That's a good point. Ladies, you need to be the FBI, the CIA, Homeland Security, Uncle Sam. You need to be investigating these triggers before you marry. Before you marry them. Oh, girl. This is toxic.
I'm trying to find everything. And he's carrying on his business as usual. Before? Nothing changed with him. He had no idea that I had spoken to the ex-wife. He had no idea I had gone to the court and saw his divorce documents. Right. He had no idea. So a couple of days later, I decided to look up his mother's obituary.
Oh, Jesus.
Look up the mother's obituary. And down at the bottom where it talks about, she's preceded in death by, and it lists all the people, the family members that died before. And then it says, leaving behind to cherish her memory. It lists the husband, his dad, her husband, excuse me. Let me start over. It lists her husband, which is Legion's dad. It lists Legion's brother that lives in Philly and his wife, because again, this is she passed away in 2015. Right. So it lists Legion, the brother in Philly, and his wife and daughter, her granddaughter. It lists Legion and his wife, I think it was like Latoya or something. list something. It did not list the ex-wife I just spoke to. And it clearly said Legion, his wife, Latoya. Then it listed the brother in Nashville, his wife, Jane, or whatever.
Jesus.
So I'm thinking to myself, there's two things I was thinking immediately. Number one, who is Latoya?
Latoya.
Never heard that name before. Never heard that name before. So I was thinking, who is Latoya? And then number two, where are the two sisters? Shantae and Kim. Shantae lives in Douglasville, married with 2 kids. Kim lives in Augusta, and I believe he told me she worked at like Procter & Gamble. So why aren't they listed on here? Because apparently, go back to the video, I posted it on there. I gave y'all background on the family. He apparently was one of 5, through both parents. Brother in Philly, older brother, younger brother in Nashville, an older sister in Douglasville, and a baby sister in Augusta. So why is it on his mother's obituary there's only three children named? Where are the 2 sisters?
Right.
So I'm even more like, what in the hell is going on? And then I started thinking to myself, why wouldn't they list Shantae? Like, they talk all the time, so I know that they're close because I talk to Shantae all the time.
Right.
So I really was confused. Again, keep in mind, I'm trying to give y'all insight into how I was thinking May of 2021, because I still didn't find out a lot of stuff at that time. I found out enough to figure out, okay, it's not a question of if he's lying. That was over. It's not a question of if he's lying. The question now is becoming, what else is he lying about?
Right.
So we had the phone call with the ex-wife. Now I see an obituary that apparently there's another wife. I know on our marriage certificate, it only states he had one previous marriage. I had 0, he had 1. So this is how I'm thinking in my head. What am I missing here? I know we've established that he's lying, but who the fuck is Latoya? Like, I'm really trying to understand who is Latoya. And again, he's hobbling around the house, limping. And I'm in our in the bedroom, I could not get on Google fast enough to try to figure some stuff out. So,
why didn't you Google him before you marry him? Ta-da! Google is your friend. This is the 21st century. Anything after 2000, we have no excuse, because everything is out here on Google and social media, honey. So why you didn't Google him before you marry him? I just got so many questions, girl. But okay.
See the mom's obituary, study it. And at this point, I'm now trying to figure out, okay, what's the game plan? What is the game plan?
Yes.
And that's where we are about to get into the next part. Okay, part 30 of Who the Fuck Did I
Ooh,
Marry?
part 30. I'm getting there,
I'm going
girl.
to use this as a clarification video. So we're going to use part 30 as a stop. Let's clarify some things. I've done it before on a previous set of videos, so I think it's just important to do that, so that way I can try to address some of the things that I have seen in the comments, both supportive and just downright mean. But let me clarify some stuff. Number one, it is important to remember that I am telling this entire story of how I met, dated, married, and divorced a pathologically lying ex-husband. I am going in chronological order of events.
Right.
So what that means is that, ma'am, sir, whoever you are, if you were coming in at part 30, but you have not seen part 11, some stuff is not going to make sense.
Right.
I know it is a long playlist. And don't worry about watching the video as soon as it comes out, because everything, I'm trying to do this responsibly of telling the story in the order of which things happen. So I say that to say, please, if you're able to, start at the introduction disclaimer video.
Yes, start at episode 1 like the rest of us. Oh my God.
Having that I'm seeing in the comments, and I say this respectfully, it's just because you did not go to the other videos and watch them in order.
Exactly.
That's just the first thing I want to say. It is important that I get this story out, but that it's done, like I said, responsibly. To me, responsibly is being honest, even if it makes me look bad, but then also trying to be clear and not ramble all over the place.
Right.
So I'm trying to take the time to tell you, this is what happened at this time. This is what happened at that time. That's why there's so many parts. And we're not even to the part of the divorce yet. We're almost there, but we're not there yet. Second thing I want to clarify. I cannot stress this enough. My family and my friends did not know what was going on between Legion and I. They did not know. My family only knew we've met this guy. He's dating our daughter, our niece, our cousin, our granddaughter. He seems to be a really nice guy. He seems to really love her. From what he has told us, he's done well for himself. He played football, and he has worked at this company 6-7 years, and financially he is in a good place. From what we understand, he just moved here from California. That is what they knew. They did not know about the red flags I had. They did not know what was going on in my head. They did not know what was going on in my heart, because I did not want to look stupid. I'm fully aware that when I tell this story, I look stupid. I'm aware, and I made my peace with it. But at the time, I did not want to look stupid. So it was important to me to put on everything's great. We're really happy. We're looking for a house, and everything's going well, knowing full well that behind scenes, I couldn't figure out why he wasn't showing proof of funds. They did not know. So I say that to say, I see the comments about how my aunt gave me horrible advice when I called her about the sexting on Facebook. And I want to clarify something. She did not tell me to stay with him.
Right.
She did not tell me to leave him. That's not her place, and that's not what she would do.
Right.
She simply was in shock that any of this had happened and did not know what to give me advice on. The one thing that she did say was, look, he's not your boyfriend. Meaning, It ain't as simple as, oh, we just gonna break up.
Right. Right.
Because you married him. Ma is the most ride or die chick I've ever met. You fuck with me, you fuck with her. And she's straight Jersey. So I love her for it. But I need it to, it's not fair for me to leave it out there as if, oh, she just was like, girl, I mean, go home and deal with it. No, never in a million years. So I want to clarify that. Also want to clarify about my mom. So my mom lived in Arkansas. And when she came to visit in April, we were already married. This is her first time physically meeting Legion. My mom will tell you, she had no idea anything was amiss, but there was something that nagged her a little bit. She didn't know what it was. And my mom is the type where she's gonna get on her knees in prayer. That's who she is. So for her, it was like, I don't know what it is. He seems like a nice guy. He seems to love my daughter. There was no arguing in the house. The house was peaceful while she was here, even though behind the scenes, we had just came off of the whole sexting incident with other women. So for her, it was like, I don't know what it is. She did tell me later on that it seemed as if I wasn't as happy as she thought I would have been. But again,
okay, hold on. Let's
and her prayer was, God, protect my child. I don't know what's going on. But
hold on. Ooh, child, I've been at this at 2 hours already. Okay, it's almost done. Hold on. Okay, y'all, I'm back. We're almost done. So I'll be able to finish this part today, and then the other finale I can finish tomorrow. Okay, y'all.
That was my mom's response. So she did not know. She did not pick up or overhear something that was going on while she was here. She had candid conversation with Legion, and Legion kind of came across as, I miss my mom. He missed his own mother, and so he called my mom, and doted on her, again putting on a charade. And so for her, it was like, bless his heart. That's what she said. Bless his heart. But no, she did not know the specifics. Nobody knew the specifics. They didn't know the specifics until we're talking.
And the thing is, even her mom, like, something was off. Y'all, that's the Holy Spirit. That is, especially for born again believer. The Holy Spirit won't speak to the born again believer, but that's that. I need to pray. I need to seek God. I need to get an answer. Something is wrong. Let's just pause. Let's stop. But no, child.
In May, June of 2021.
20 more minutes.
They knew that we were looking for a house. They knew that the house fell through. They did not know about the proof of funds. They did not know that he wouldn't show me the savings account, the offshore account. So I just want to say that, because to me, it would be irresponsible to not clarify what family and friends knew. Because these people have always been supportive of me, always had my back. I just simply did not share with them the things that I felt like were red flags, because again, my mindset at the time was, I want to be married, and what if he isn't lying? And I was making excuses for him to myself, so I definitely would make excuses to family. Another thing I need to clarify, and I saw the comments on this about how a VP would never date someone that looked like me. And to the person that wrote it, that wasn't very nice. I need you all to understand, the relationship started in March of 2020.
Yes, somebody did send me the video about a VP would not marry somebody that looks like her. I ain't got nothing to say. I'm married to a VP. I am married to an executive. So I guess I'll listen to the video a little bit, but I don't really have anything to say, because different men like different things. Okay. So somebody did send me the video. What I got from it was the lady was, we'll talk about that later.
He came into my life as regional manager. Okay, that is how he came into my life. Then eventually he got promoted to VP of production or operations, some VP of something. That was later on in the relationship. He showed me the paperwork where it was basically a memo from HR. Your new position title will be VP of production. We'll just say production. Your salary, I don't remember the exact amount because it was a very specific amount, but it was over $200,000. It listed some of the benefits that he would have. He would have an office. He would be getting an executive assistant. That's where we get David from. You don't know
David. Okay, hold on, yo, David. Okay, I'm back. I just wanted to make the quick shorts because she mentioned it in the video, and people had sent the video of the lady saying an executive wouldn't marry somebody that looks like her. Okay.
Who David is, please go back, watch the series in order. He would be getting an executive assistant. He would be getting use of the company helicopter. He would be getting a company car. That is where we're introduced to the fact that he was starting to shop for a company car that could not be more than $90,000. That's what he told me. I didn't see this in the memo, the amount of the car, but that's what he told me. So that's where you get the car shopping for the Range Rover, the Jaguar, the BMW. He even test drove a Mercedes GLE, I believe. So I'm just trying to, again, bring some clarity to this so that way we all can understand what's going on. And hopefully this just makes a lot more sense for everyone. All right. Part 31. Who the fuck did I marry? So I found his mother's obituary online. It then told me it listed his brother in Philly. and his wife. It listed Legion, and then it said his wife. I took the name from the obituary, and I did a Metro Atlanta corpse search with that name. I found a divorce record. I found a divorce record with Legion and the same woman's name that was in the obituary. In that divorce record, it looks like he's the one that filed for divorce. This would have been around 2016. This was after the mother's death. He filed for divorce. She was the respondent. I think that's the correct terminology. Both had a temporary protection order against each other. He had one against her. She had one against him. The divorce ended up getting granted, finalized. Then it looks like he went on his way. In the course of the search for her name, I discovered that at one point in time, the two of them had lived in Rhode Island. So that's the connection with Rhode Island, because for the longest time I could not figure out who lived in Rhode Island. That's where that came from. The two of them, he and this woman, lived in Rhode Island several years prior, or a few years prior. I could not find the obituary for his dad. I searched and I searched. I could not find the obituary for his father. For whatever reason, I knew his grandmother's name. I just randomly decided to do a Google search of the grandmother's name. Initially, nothing came up because I was looking for the grandmother's name in Philly. Nothing came up. I looked for the grandmother's name down here in Georgia.
Excuse me.
Found a record, but it wasn't quite clear. What was clear was that she had died several years prior.
Jesus.
So what I found was a different website where it was like a legacy.com type thing. So I believe legacy.com holds old obituaries. To search for her name, found a match. That is when I discovered that she actually had passed away in July of 2008. Jesus. Read the caption or the obituary and verified that in fact it was his grandmother. Because at the bottom of it, again, obituaries tell you a lot. It names who she leaves to cherish her memory. So it lists all the different family members. It lists the brother in Philly. It lists Legion, no spouse, and then a brother in Nashville. Once again, it did not list the two sisters, Shantae and Kim.
Right.
So I'm even more like, okay, clearly something is up when it comes to Shantae and Kim. But what I do know is that he has talked to them multiple times in front of me. So I'm not sure what I'm missing. Maybe some family feud happened. Honestly, I don't know. So that is how I discovered that when he told me the grandmother died from COVID and he was crying, boo-hooing and all that shit, she actually had died in July of 2008. I found this out the same time that I found out about allegedly, and I say allegedly because I'll explain, allegedly the first wife, or at least what I think is the first wife. So while all this is going on, Legion is almost bedridden from what happened with his knee. I need to take a moment to address this issue with the knee. Again, the story started, he hit his knee. Then it turned into, it was an old football injury. And this has happened before. He's going to the doctor. The doctor's telling him to ice it and to elevate it. He eventually moves into the guest bedroom to be more comfortable. I'm going to make this statement. This is probably the only time I'll make this statement. He was not lying about the injury that he had. I don't know where the injury came from, but what I do know was he was not lying in the fact that he was in pain. You could clearly see that he was in pain, and the pain was becoming debilitating. Please understand what I'm saying. The pain was debilitating enough to where he was taking my pain meds from when I had the miscarriage. And then also it was hard for him to walk. He was not eating. So this is what made me believe this, whatever was going on with the knee, there was more to it because he was not eating. When I met this man, he was a size 3X. At this point in time in May, he's down to a 2X. He is not exercising. He's not doing anything mobile. He's simply not eating. So there definitely was something going on, something concerning. Honestly, I thought it might have been cancer. But he kept saying, no, it's not that. It's from a football injury. It's from a football injury. I said to him, the next time you have a doctor's appointment, I want to go. It was that bad. And he kept making excuses like, okay, fine, I'll make the appointment. I'll let you know what it is. Cool, I will take off work. I want to be at that doctor's appointment. Because whatever is going on with you is serious, to the point where you are losing weight rapidly within a 2-week span. So now we can go ahead and enter into June. When we enter into June, I have read the divorce documents for not one wife, but 2 wives. I have called San Diego State, verified they have no record of him. He claims he was a private citizen. I don't believe that. They're saying there's no record of him. I have pulled his background. It is showing that you've lived in Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Georgia. When I look at the addresses, it is tied to at least 2 women, both of whom I'm showing divorce records on file that you had. I've also verified that your grandmother actually died in 2008 and not in 2020 from COVID. I know all of this as I'm going into June. His birthday is June 17th. So all I've been doing is just trying to figure out what is it I'm going to do. I spoke to the pastor and his wife. I believe it was actually the pastor I spoke to because I knew the pastor previously before he did our marriage counseling. Right. And I told him what I found. Mind blown. Jesus. Mind blown. Yes. Yeah. Had no idea. He knew something was up. He knew that Legion was not really trying to make this marriage work. He had no idea all this was going on. So he asked me, are you wanting to stay or do you want to end the marriage? I said, oh, absolutely, I'm ending it. Oh, hell yeah, I'm ending it. I have to. I have to end it. I have no idea who that man is in my guest bedroom. Not to mention, on top of all of this, he had lied about the death of the ex-wife's daughter.
Part
32. Part 32.
Yes, part 32.
All right. So we're now in June.
Yes, June.
By this point in June, I have been offered the new job, accepted it, put in my 2-week notice at my previous job, and was going to be starting the new job later on in the month. So when he laughed, where I told him I wanted to get a new job, that laughter fueled me to get a new job.
Yes.
So
get the job.
Here's what happened at the beginning of June. He's at this point, he's completely bedridden. When I say completely bedridden, what I mean is, I'm trying to clarify this so it makes sense. From what I see, he is going to work, but he's calling out a lot more. Okay. So he had already left the condiment company and was working for Apple. So he's calling out quite a bit because the pain is pretty bad. So he's hardly eating at this point, hardly. For example, if I were to say, oh, I ordered a 10-piece wings, he's eating 2. That's all I would see him eat. I was going to work and coming home. The house was in the exact same place that it was when I left. Nothing in the kitchen had been moved. Nothing in the refrigerator had been moved, which led me to believe that he had not left the bed from the time I left to go to work until at this point in time, he's drinking Powerades like it's water. I mean, I'm buying cases of Powerades. And that seemed to be the only thing that he was taking in. So if he was a 3X when I met him, he's probably at a 1X, maybe a 2X depending on the clothes. He's lost a lot of weight because he's not eating. So that's the reason why I say he wasn't faking whatever was going on. I think the issue with his knee was a symptom. That was not some football injury. That was not, oh, I hit it at work. It wasn't that. Something else was going on.
Right.
I kept asking him to, let me know when you have a doctor's appointment. I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go with you. And he just kept saying the doctor, he's calling the doctor, and the doctor told him to just keep icing the knee, but I knew better.
Right. That's a lie, girl.
Because of all the stuff I was finding out.
Doctors want to see.
Beginning of June, he is in the bed, sleep, and I get his phone. I ain't gonna lie. I got his phone. He had a work phone and he had a personal phone. It was the work phone that he had from the condiment company that apparently was never turned in. Follow me. It'll all come out. So he still had the work phone. It was deactivated. But he did not wipe the phone. If y'all know what I mean, take all the data off. He did not do that. So I look through the phone and I see this would have been text messages. Text messages between him and a woman named Peaches.
Peaches.
I go back to the beginning of the text messages. This is on the work phone. This is the beginning of June of 2021. I go back to the text messages the beginning of the text messages between him.
Wait a minute, I know a Peaches. Is her name Peaches B? We're almost done, y'all. We're almost done.
Yes, that was her name, Peaches. I'm reading the thread because he's knocked out asleep. So I'm in the bathroom with the door locked, reading the thread. And what I can tell is that he met Peaches on PLF. If you don't know what PLF is, it is Plenty of Fish.
Oh, yeah. I used to be on PLF.
He met Peaches. I saw the messages in June, so he met Peaches around February. Met Peaches from PLF. And apparently Peaches was, there's no nice way to say it. Apparently Peaches was a prostitute. So the reason why I say that is because in the text messages, she's listing the prices. So he asked for a hand job. This is in the text messages. She told him it would be like $40. He asked how much would it be for oral. She said it would be $60 because it was $60 and $80. One was the price with a condom, one was the price without one. So no messages after that. She sent a picture, he sent a picture. No messages after that. So in other words, these messages were not back to back every single day. There's breaks in between the messages. So like a message was in March, the next message is in April. Message in April, next message is like 2 weeks later. So he's asking her the prices. Next message I see would have been from a few weeks prior to the date of this. So this was the beginning of June. The message is from sometime beginning of May, where he is thanking her and says to her, thank you so much. That was really great. I hope I can see you again. Then there's messages where she said, hey, basically she was at a new spot. She must have moved. So he said, okay, I'm gonna come through. I'm gonna come see you. He's asking her to confirm the address. He was like, is it the house with the brown trash can with a white car in the front? She says, yes. So I'm thinking he was actually in front of the house when he's texting these messages. Then again, he does whatever he does. And he sends her a message a few hours later saying, thank you. That was great. I'm reading all this. And I will tell you guys something that you may or may not understand. Some women may or may not understand it. The cheating didn't even faze me. Didn't even faze me. I didn't cry. I did not feel like, what did I do wrong? I was relieved. The reason why I was relieved is because up until this point, I kind of struggled a little bit on whether or not, God, I know, Lord, you hate divorce, but I can't stay with a guy that lies. So when I saw the cheating stuff, I was like, oh shoot, thank you, Jesus. Okay. Because I know my Father in heaven is going to forget the fact that I'm a divorcing for infidelity. Go ahead. It's fine. Jesus will forgive me. So I was relieved, to be honest with you. Like, okay, I got grounds now, bitch. That's how I felt. So saw the messages, forwarded the messages to my phone. I took I had to take my phone because the phone was deactivated. So I kind of had to do a little ghetto, hold the phone up, take my phone, and take pictures of what I see on the phone, so that I would have proof on my phone. Then I put the phone back and continued on. Now, in the next part is the day that he gets kicked out. And I will tell y'all what happened.
Oh, Lord. Okay, girl.
There has been some news for REESA and
Thank you, y'all. Thank you. This was a lot, but at least we got through it. I got up to part 30-something, right? Oh, Lord, I finished it. Okay, and it's almost 8 o'clock. Yeah! I'm so glad. Okay, so tomorrow, not today, girl. This is a lot. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up early again. I woke up at 3:30 this morning to finish this so I could just get this out the way. So tomorrow I'm going to bed early again tonight, and then tomorrow I'm going to wake up early again, and we're going to finish the rest of it, the finale. Okay, shout out to Messy Stories. I'm on his or her channel, and I'm playing all the videos on his or her channel. So we went up to episode 32. Okay, so we went from episode 15 to episode 32. So tomorrow we're gonna go from 33 to 52. Okay. I'm so excited. I'm done. All right, y'all, please watch this, share it out. I know y'all are saying my videos are not getting the views. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. So I don't know. YouTube, I feel like, has always worked against me, but whatever. Okay, as long as somebody see the video. But if you share it, I'll share it on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Send it in your email. That will help. 2 or 3 times, guys, available on Amazon. And God, I'm so happy. I finished it. My house and profile begins April 6th. Sign up. My website is available. Datings for Date is coming very soon. I love you guys. Oh my God, I finished it. Okay. Let me go. Let me upload this so I can leave with the 2 Michaels. I'm so happy, y'all. Love you. Let me know what you think. Bye.